Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 7, entitled as Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Sloka 8 through 11. Raso apsu kaunteya prabhāsmi śaśi-sūryayoḥ praṇavaḥ sarva-vedeṣu śabdaḥ pauruṣaṁ nṛṣu puṇyo gandhaḥ pṛthivyāṁ tejaś cāsmi vibhāvasau jīvanaṁ sarva-bhūteṣu tapasviṣu bījaṁ sarva-bhūtānāṁ viddhi pārtha sanātanam buddhir-buddhimatāmasmi tejasvināmaham balam balavatāṁ cāham kāmaraha vivarjitam dharma virudho bhūteṣu kāmosmi bharatarṣabha. In the previous session, we saw that Krishna said from these set of slokas that he is the taste in the water, the effulgence in the moon and sun, and Om, which is the essence of Vedas, the manhood in men, the fragrance in the basil, ability in all the living entities, the intelligence, the glory of the glorious, the strength in the strong, and so forth. So we had a question as these things that Krishna says are essential nature of those elements. Then how do we understand when Krishna says he is so and so? Therefore, we saw there are various schools of thought which discusses this differently. In Shankara's Advaita philosophy, aitadhatmyam idam sarvam kalvidam brahma. There are many statements in the Upanishads that Shankara places his philosophy based on those statements. That is, the absolute truth is ekam, one. There is no second. There is nothing called matter or spirit. They are illusion. And this is abheda, that is non-dualism. Whereas next we saw Sripad Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvaita. There it is accepted that the matter, living entities and Ishvara, the Lord, are true and they exist. The relationship among these three is yasya prithvi shariram, yasya atma shariram. Like how the body is related to the Atma, the connection between body and Atma. Likewise, the Supreme Lord is Paramatma, Antaryami, and all the matters and the living entities are his Sharira, his body. And the statement that supports from the Upanishad are called Ghataka Shruti. Next we saw Madhvacharya's Dvaita philosophy. Bhokta bhogyam preritatam matva. This is another statement from the Upanishad which falls under the Veda, that is differences, where it says that Ishvara, the living entity, and the matter, that is Ishvara, Chit and Achit, are all separated tattva. They have no connection. They are separated. that we saw in the Dvaita philosophy by Madhvacharya. Now, 500 years back, Lord Chaitanya, who appeared in West Bengal, established a connection between all these different siddhanta, and it is called Achintya Veda Abheda philosophy siddhanta. Here, both differences and the non-differences are accepted. That is, both Veda, and Veda means differences, and Abheda means non-differences, are embraced into this philosophy. But to understand how these two happen simultaneously at the same time is humanly impossible to conceive. Therefore, it is called inconceivable, oneness and differences. Hence, this philosophy is coined as Achintya Vedabheda Siddhanta. Srila Rupa Goswami, one of the followers of Lord Chaitanya, in his work called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he quotes verse from Mahabharata which says, Achintya kalo ye bhava natams tarkena yojayeta prakritivyāṁ param yato tadachintasya lakshanam. It says that one cannot understand the complex subject matter of these oneness and differences through the direct perception or through inference, that is through pratyaksha or anumana. It cannot be argued. Therefore, it is inconceivable. Achintya means inconceivable. Let's see few examples here. We see Krishna, when he was on this earthly planet, he lived with 16,000 wives, and he lived in their separate houses simultaneously. Therefore, it is possible for God, Brahman, to be both different and one, identical. Likewise, the Lord to be both different from the world and identical with it, to create the world out of himself and remains out of it. This reason is hard to be explained. Another example which has been given by Lord Chaitanya is a stone called Chintamani. It's a touchstone. Chintamani, which produces gold out of itself, and yet Chintamani remains unchanged. When the worldly object can have such a inconceivable Shakti, potency, then why are we surprised of the inconceivable Shaktis of Krishna, God? Jiva Goswami, in his Bhagavat Sandarbha, explains this through an example of fire and its power. We cannot think of fire without the power of burning. Similarly, we cannot think of the power of burning without fire. Both are identical. Fire is nothing except that which burns. The power of burning is nothing except fire in action. At the same time, fire and its power of burning are not absolutely same. If they were absolutely same, there would be no reason in warning the child. If the child is going to go touch the fire, then what we say is, fire burns. why do we use these two terms, fire burns? If it is one, it would have been sufficient enough to say fire. Fire burns would involve needless repetition. Besides, if there were no differences between fire and its power, it would not be possible to neutralize the power of burning in fire by means of some methods. Just like that, where neither absolute identity, oneness, nor absolute difference between fire and its power, similarly, there is neither absolute oneness or absolute difference between Brahman and his Shakti. Therefore, both Veda and Abheda are accepted. Well, this explains Veda Abheda, oneness and difference. But why it is called as Achintya Bheda Abheda, Achintya? What is answered is Veda and Abheda are involved. But how they are reconciled is beyond our comprehension. So we know there is a oneness and we know there is a differences that exist. But how do we see it? That's going to be beyond one's ability. It's inconceivable. Namaste. Hare Krishna.